and put it for way, but RNG gonna answer back with Gala taking the Aphelios. I know, right? Funny thing is we have a second monitor which Aux has very studently put in all of the different picks and bans, and it's literally looking at like the same thing in terms of like tit for tat for Xayah, then Aphelios, Xayah, then Aphelios.
In the first game we had the
first game we got the Ari first pick, but it's been banned this time.
I think if you want the Volibear, you pick it now. I feel like that's kind of going to be the thing for RNG, but I could very much see them not leaning towards it because it hasn't worked. And often in series, it sounds weird, but when a pick isn't working in the series, you just go, you sometimes stuff it.
You go double down and you pick it anyway.
I respect this more, honestly, because I feel like a lot of players, if something isn't working or they lost on it or they feel like they can't have the impact, they end up going, no, I don't want to pick that, even though it might actually be the right pick or good in that. And I think denying it away from Kanavi important as well, but I love to see that, right? The Trundle, good for activating jungler, right? Also, the pillar in combination with these double lethality spikers, the range from Jayce, very hard to approach against the pillar, and Trundle will out-duel the Volibear. Trundle out-duels anything, let's be honest, really. So, fantastic pick, I feel, here for JDG. Kanavi very happy. And now RNG, we could see a top lane counter towards that Jayce, but given that they don't super lean heavy towards Bin, we could just see a mid laner come out as Priority Xiaohu. Could even see like the Nautilus. Oh, I love this.
I love this.
Oh, please do.
This is like Bin territory. Not only that, but Xiaohu plays it as well. So this is a 100% a flex, and it can just do so much into any lane they decide to put it in.
But I feel like it makes sense in top lane, right? Because you know you're into the Jayce. The big thing is that Irelia can really punish range matchups, but the really important thing is mid-prio. You need mid-prio for RNG, because what I want to see is I'm leaning towards top lane and killing the Jayce. We've had Bully Hope throughout this series. I want to see Bully 369 in this game. We see the Rakan ban away, and this is kind of what I'm talking about, right? TF, something that can roam top very easily. A RNG special from the Crying Days, banned away. I could also even see them take away the Ryze, because I feel like Ryze here for RNG would be spectacular. We'll see if they end up going for that one. For now, RNG do ban away the Rakan. You know, it's a bit. If you are going to go for the Ryze 4th pick for RNG, I feel like banning a support here could be a mistake.
Yeah.
Because then you just, you thin your pool, because JDG, like, if you ban Nautilus, they'll pick Leona. So I like that they're going for the Zoe ban here. Do JDG ban Ryze? That is the question for me. Galio as well.
I was just about to think that, because I'm looking at this Irelia pick right now, and I'm saying, this is the kind of composition which Xiaohu loves to work around. You've got two massive divers who can then just get supported by that global ultimate like the Ryze or the Galio. He'll have his pick of either one, but I don't expect him to pick it here. Honestly, you could pick your support here and then go for the last pick.
Go Leona. If you're really set on the Ryze, you could go it here, but I feel like you go Leona and then you have plenty of options in terms of support. In terms of last pick, like you can go if they go Ryze, you can go Galio, you can go various things. You could just take something like Contested Prio. We'll see what RNG end up locking in. I don't like the blind karma. Just go the Leona. Stop hovering things. Cool. Right. JDG. We could just get the Ryze coming out from Yagao. I think you kind of have to take it to be able to contest and also to play for Kanavi. You have strong side laners who got a spike. We talked about that Eclipse Manamune spike that was so potent. So wouldn't be too surprised to see it there. Support's a bit of an interesting one, right? In terms of what we get there. It could just be something like the Alistar trade-off. Definitely wouldn't be too surprised to see that. Could also go in a different direction if you don't play something more defensive, like the Tom Kench. But ultimately, when you have a Xayah, when you have a Trundle with all the peel and disengage, I think Alistar probably just makes the most sense. We did see the set earlier into the Leona, but I
prefer the Alistar. Yeah, the Alistar just has a lot more survivability, has roughly the same level of engage, especially with the Glacial Augment, and I do much prefer this. So JDG, they're going back to kind of what worked in Game 1. You look at a lot of what they picked up here, the Jayce, the Ryze, the Xayah, very similar composition that they had from Game 1. The only real differences, of course, are in the jungle and, of course, in the support pick. But now RNG locking in the Galio. We talked about it. I love to see Xiaohu on a global ultimate.
Yeah, and it works here because it's one of those picks that you can play towards a silent. It's so important. If you pick this Irelia, you essentially commit. We have to give Bin resources because you're not playing the Gragas where you can just chill and it's going to be relevant later. You need to have Bin crush this matchup, and then he's just going to be able to take over. And I love that RNG are going towards that. It kind of makes sense. We were talking about it. But I feel like we've got such a hype matchup. We have two early game junglers, right? We have two roaming mid laners, and then we have side laners who, if either side pulls out ahead in there, we could see them completely run away with the game. This is exactly what I want from a Game 5.
And this is exactly how you want to see both of these teams playing. It's quintessential JDG draft and quintessential RNG. They both got what they wanted. Very strong top jungle for JDG. Exceptionally powerful roaming for the side of RNG. And just a strong scaling bot side for them as well. So this is what we expected from these teams.
And it feels like this is quite evenly matched in terms of how, the drafts, right? There's definitely advantages, I feel like, having
When you,
Irelia into the Jayce.
you zoom in on a specific thing.
Yeah, for sure. But overall, I feel like both teams have got strong options, you know, and I think the fact that we've seen the Viego and the Lee Sin gone, it has leveled the playing field, right? It feels like this series has been unbalanced when they were leaving those junglers open, and now it feels like this is set up to be a spectacular Game 5. That being said, we could see it become very one-sided, because when these teams have similar win conditions, for example, if RNG pull off the roams, have the early pressure, and allow Bin to crush top lane, then this thing just could completely snowball out of control.
Here we go. Game 5 for the second day in a row here in the LPL. JDG versus RNG. Winner goes up against Top Esports in the winners final. Loser fights for their lives against V5. There are no more easy matches, and already JDG are waiting for some shenanigans.
So what often happens, you might have seen this a few times in the LPL, like whole teams grouping up, and essentially you see this ward that was placed down by Wei. Warding in these top rushes is so important for top lane matchups, right? And so what normally teams do is they'll have someone go up to the top lane, they'll throw their ward down, which isn't as important, right? Wei's going to reset and get sweep, he doesn't care that he used his. And it just helps Bin out, right? Because one of the most annoying things if you're playing Irelia into like a Jayce is he'll sit in the bush, and you can't do anything to him, and then he'll auto you pop back in, and so on. And then teams start developing where they'd go up as a 5-man. So if you're trying to ward solo, as Wei was, you can combat it. There we don't see any sort of transgressions, but it was basically JDG ensuring no cheese comes out and trying to stop RNG from doing the same. But yeah, I mean, we've set the expectations quite heavily for this game. I expect, and this is the weird thing for RNG, we've seen a split where Bin has got so much less attention. And this is a team who, when they had Crying on and Xiaohu in the top lane, the game plan was play the top, right? That was such a solidified game plan. For anyone who didn't see it last year, it was basically Crying was playing a lot of Roman champions, TF for the specialty. They played for their top laner, and it's been such a different shift in this split where Bin has often not had as much attention. But this is a game where they need to heavily lean into that, whereas JDG have kind of been doing it for a lot of the split.
Absolutely. It's definitely a shift in terms of RNG's composition, but it is more akin to what we saw them doing in 2021. Of course, the names have shuffled about just a little bit more, and we can't forget, this is the top laner with the pentakill Fiora in the World Championship Finals. This is a guy who is known for his carry champions, finally given an opportunity here to maybe showcase something, and for RNG fans, you're hoping he can.
And that's the thing, people looked at Bin's addition and then Crying go in, having Xiaohu in the mid lane and Bin in the top lane felt like such an upgrade for RNG. And as much as they had a good split, there was definitely times it felt like they weren't syncing as well. Bear in mind, Spring last year, they were absolutely fantastic. But I love that Bin is getting his chance. In this Game 5, the opportunity to go to the upper bracket finals, he is on that Irelia. Now, early levels, you know, Galio, as much as you can contest prio later into the Ryze when he's ranged, when you're melee, it's a little bit painful. And we did see RNG's bot lane have a bit more pressure. When Alistar's level 1, he can't do as much, but he finds more presence as he gets some levels in the matchup when he gets the W, Q, and the E. Leona is going to be having a bit more of a tricky time to evade, but now Kanavi, he's found Wei.
Yeah, and Wei's used a little bit of his damage already, so we're going to see now Sky Splitter comes down. I don't know if the Trundle really wants to fight this one just yet. The Irelia's coming in. They may look to try and go for a 2v2. The mid laners are also roaming up as well. We're going to see Wei now with the Predator coming in from Xiaohu on the bot side, though there was a fight already, and now they're going to jump in. This is terrible for the side of JDG. They've already lost one on the bot side, but they traded it back. We're going to go back into the top side as they're just going in toe-to-toe. They are going to try and use the bushes. The little bit of vision comes in, and now
has no mana.
Has no mana, has no flash, and nowhere to go. It ends up being a 3-for-2, excuse me, across the map.
Yeah, but what a hectic one. And I mean, Bin, he sees all these low health targets. He's absolutely hyped for that. And the critical thing is Xiaohu having that Predator, despite the fact we didn't see him with the early prio, he's able to move first. And, you know, it was scrappy, but Kanavi, ultimately, the big mistake he made there, because I talked about how the Trundle should be winning the 1v1 against the Volibear, he walked into the Sky Splitter, it gave Wei a shield and chunked him out, and then Wei was able to burst him. And from that point, you can't really fight back. Which is why we saw it initially going in favor of RNG. But critically, we get a kill onto the Irelia, which is massive. And we're going to replay the bot lane. So pretty heavy skirmish. And I know that initially they got the kill onto the Alistar. But the Feather's actually catching out Gala.
Ooh, yeah, I'm surprised actually. It looks like this should have been JDG maybe getting a bit more on this. The fact that they traded it back is very good for RNG. But
yeah, this is what I mean from that fight. So the Sky Splitter comes down. And Kanavi, if he moved out of it, probably would have been able to take that a lot better. But the shield comes in for Wei, and you can see in the extended trade he's managing a bit better. But as soon as Bin walks in, he's so afraid. But it's Xiaohu who sees first. That's a critical thing. And I think the fact that the flash is used from 369 well means they don't instantly win it. But it's still just a very hard fight to take from this position, especially as Yagao ends up coming in with no mana.
Yeah, and Bin,
And imagine if Kanavi had died as well, how disastrous that would be.
I mean, nearly Bin getting himself up, and that's, again, the priority towards this top side, and RNG committing to say, look, we don't need to do anything else.
Dead.
He's got no flash, there's a Predator coming in, you're dead, son, they're going to get the taunt down as well. Not going to give it over to Bin, but they don't need to because they're crashing the wave.
This is the game plan, this is exactly what we wanted to see from RNG, play towards top, and Xiaohu just doesn't care about mid. He's like, I have Predator, I will come top, I will help my top laner, I will set it up. Fortunately, 369 is a TP, so he doesn't mitch too much, but already 1-0-1 on this Irelia, got a plate as well on the back of that. This is setting up to be a painful game for 369, and I think back to the series against Weibo, where in the final game he had Kennen into the Shy's Aatrox, and he was the one who was bullying him out and getting the attention. Roles reversed in this game 5.
Already the tension between the lanes coming out in full force. It is still a pretty even affair. You have got about 1,000 gold lead for RNG, and it is basically on to way. And this is what we want to see from the Volibear.
This is why they're
This is why the Volibear has seen such high priority, because it can do this.
And you know, I feel like it's kind of funny that the more everything changes, the more everything remains the same. RNG, when they have to play towards top, it's like it just simplifies everything for them, and it just becomes so easy.
There's less people here.
Oh,
awesome!
Wait, we have to do the thing we did like all last year? Nice! I have experience doing that. But still, JDG definitely not out. The goal deficit is painful. The top lane matchup is a little bit rough, and I think it really becomes a problem at level 6, because now Xiaohu has his ultimate. Wei's going to have it soon. I'm going to hold that Thor.
Oh, they got the Galio ultimate coming in as well. There's no flash here for Kanavi, and he's just dead. This is Xiaohu. This is why this Galio pick, it is such a great pocket for RNG, because it can have this kind of impact.
And also, I love this from Ming and Gala, right? They find a window to move from bot. Like, this is not a common move from typical bot lanes. They just go, you know, stuff it. We're going to invade, kill Kanavi. We know we have backup. Oh, yeah. I mean, fortunately, Wei isn't level 6, so it's not quite as difficult, but Bin is. Remember, 369 on Jayce, you don't get much of a spike from 6. Irelia becomes such a problem now. Wei does reset, and 369 will be able to catch the wave, but it's so precarious. With Wei's ult, with Bin's ult, 369 is dead no matter what when he's on the tower, as long as there's a semblance of a minion wave. Fortunately, with Xiaohu's ult being used, it's not going to be as threatening for a bit, but still, RNG are setting a pace to this game, and this is one of the more proactive games we've seen from them this split. They've obviously lent a lot towards objectives, dragons, heralds, but in terms of their actual activity, particularly from Wei, he hasn't been the most proactive. We see, you know, Chan on a good game, or Kanavi in general, have been more proactive junglers who have found more kills for their team.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with RNG now having that extra global pressure, like, they're not going to quite have it if this dragon fight does kick off in the next minute or so, but we're going to see it engage in this bot side. You will have the feathers going flying for Hope if he does need it. Won't get the root down with his feathers being called back, but again, the pressure is always there. Now for JDG, we got to talk about how do you kind of stabilize, how do you stop this whole setup from collapsing around you, and I feel like it's got to come from this spike in the bot side.
Well, I think one thing that you can say is you have the Realm Warp advantage for a limited amount of time, right? So if you can utilize that before Xiaohu's ultimate comes available, that's when you find a window. But the problem is Xiaohu does have Predator, so it's very fixed. You have to find like a finite opportunity. For the time being, though, it looks like they're actually going for a swap towards that Herald. Both teams are doing so. We'll see. Hope is actually walking mid, because he kind of wants to scope out what's happening for the other side. But there's a straight B line coming in from Missing, heading straight over. And critically, because JDG reset there, they actually have like a Dirk in the inventory of Hope. But RNG, they're on it first, and they're looking to secure this.
They are looking to secure this. You won't have the ultimate from Xiaohu just yet, but you do have a taunt and a flash. So all summoners available for RNG. You're starting to get a couple back now here, as we can see now. Missing in a lot of trouble. He's forced to flash away. You do have the Deadly Flourish moving, the Flawless Duet missing out on the top side, as the Herald now down to about 1,700. One more auto attack would do it. There we go. The Vanguard's Edge comes in. They've already killed off the Trundle. Now they can start to move back on top of Yagao and Hope, but they've got some feathers. They've got some damage. As we get the bear coming back in, they kill off the Irelia, but at what cost? Because you cannot Realm Warp out of here. You have to flash away 369. Everything goes in favor of RNG, and they get the Herald.
Absolute disaster for JDG, because the thing is, if you don't contest the Herald, you can leave Hope bot, you can get some plates, you can get extra waves, right? But they commit to it, and they still end up losing losing out. RNG very clutch in that fight, and as much as Bin ends up going down, the rest of the team are able to clean up. Yagao trying to exit with the Realm Warp, gets CC, gets locked away, and critically, Wei, the one delivering on the smite. I mean, I was saying game 3 and 4, yeah, he's got Viego, obviously he's going to do well on it, but this game has been absolutely stellar from him. We'll get to see the replay coming out.
Yeah, and this is, again, look, you've already burnt the flash from missing. Very hard for him to get in here. And then once the Rift Herald goes down, Bin does not hesitate and immediately trying to land the flawless duet on top of Yagao and Hope.
Yeah, and as much as a lot of damage and CC gets focused on and missing looks from here, they burn so much, and RNG still has so much gas in the tank. They know they can't win this fight, but the CC comes down on Yagao. He's not able to get away. So fantastic advantage. Now, 2,500 gold for RNG pre-Herald. They still have that in inventory to make use of. So put in a rough spot, and it looks like the answer for JDG is we're just going to try and play through top. Hopefully Bin goes in for an engage and they can kill him. And if Bin plays respectful here, then really JDG won't be able to get anything. And RNG, they've started off the dragon on the other side. Yeah,
I mean, you know, you have a fairly decent idea that the Trundle is in this top side. You will be able to take that, and that's just another free objective for RNG.
And critically, if Kanavi shows top, but they don't kill Bin, that is an instant signal to RNG, we can Herald. Right, because they know the jungler's on the other side of the map. They know he's not where they want him. So Kanavi has to be really careful. You only show your face here if you're going to kill Bin. They don't find the window. They back away. You want to keep the fear on the side of RNG because, again, if you show, they will instantly commit to the other side of the map and you will get devastated.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. They can't really do much against Bin. Vanguard's Edge, the Flash, so many ways of just slowing down that dive. And yes, it's a Jayce and a Trundle, but that's an Irelia. You got to be careful. They're going to go into the mid lane. It's going to be Ming going in with the Solar Flare. Absolutely pinpoint accuracy. Single target CC for days, and that is a dead Yagao.
Yeah, and they could look for the Herald for the 2 plates mid, but they don't need to. They can just move off. Honestly, they could move as a unit towards top lane and look to secure more of a lead for their Irelia if they want. And you can see Wei and Xiaohu cutting in behind 369. This doesn't look fun for the Jayce.
It doesn't look fun at all. No flash as well here, as you do have a little bit of a disengage there. You will not have the Predator for Xiaohu, not able to get there in time, but this is devastating right now. We kept harping on every single time about how 369 and Kanavi were the win condition for the side of JDG. That is a 0-2 Jayce, and the turret is nearly dead.
Yeah, and I mean, the problem is, JDG, it's like they can either just leave it and let the turret go, because Bin will naturally end up just finding it. Like, 369 has to be so scared in this 1v1 with how strong this Irelia is going to be. And unless you're willing to constantly have someone shadowing the Jayce, it's just eventually going to get taken.
And this is why, yes, the Trundle is great in an isolated 1v1 against the Volibear, but he can't really get that aggressive move going. He can't really push himself into the enemy jungle, because with the Irelia being as big as they are and the global ultimate of the Galio, you're never going to be in an isolated 1v1.
And this is kind of, we set this up in draft a little bit after it, whereas, like, you know, these teams have come in with drafts where they both have strong early junglers, they both have, you know, roaming mid laners, we have snowballing top laners, and really, we could see a situation like this where one team finds the sort of play they want to, they will snowball ahead. And actually, you see 369 so afraid to lean up towards that top tower, it just gets given over. Bin got solo first tower gold for that one. As much as the plates were shared, he is now going to be monstrously ahead, and how are you going to ever handle him? Like, you can just play
I was about to ask you that.
You can play, I don't know. You can play what... The thing is, like, sometimes what you do is you have 369 in the side lane, and then you're like, we have a Ryze. Ryze can come and they can 2v1, and then he can teleport if we need to contest, like, Baron or something. The problem is, they also have a Galio, so they can always match you in the side if they need to. Bin now with Blade of the King in inventory is super strong, and RNG are just putting their attention down. They want more plates, they have a minute to get them, they want some gold for Gala.
Yeah, get Gala going. As we said in our previous segment, this is how RNG love to play, getting that bot side up to a nice big spike. You've already got the Gale Force to keep himself safe and be aggressive should he feel the need. But this is now just RNG with the Moonlight Vigil coming in, the Gale Force as well. Not quite able to burst out missing, but again, that's the Alistar who's not really going to be able to defend.
Yeah, the critical thing is you get him chunked out, so he has to back away. I mean, the ult from the Alistar doesn't make you immortal, right? So if you're that low, you'll just get bursted. So he has to back away. That means Kanavi and Yagao can't defend against 4, especially with the Volibear ultimate, and they'll just pick up more plates. We do see in the mid lane, Hope is answering, and Xiaohu's going to move back over, just defend against that. But ultimately, you're getting a lot more off the bot side.
You're not even just getting the plates here for Gala, you're also getting the tower. The tower will lose those plates in about 5 seconds. You should be able to do it. He almost gets all of them by himself. That's honestly incredibly impressive there. Red-white, those chakrams do so much much when you're right up against the turret. When you're on melee range, it just becomes so much, and that's just a hell of a lot of gold. We're already at a 5,000 gold lead, just shy of it, and RNG are just cruising.
100%. And I mean, I love the fact they came out with this Irelia and they had a comp to work around it, but it's like they haven't just committed a bin. Look at the CS discrepancy in mid. Xiaohu has dropped waves specifically to get his side lanes ahead, and this is what the comp needed to do. This is why it's functioning so well. So now for JDG, things are a little bit tricky. I do think they have potential opportunities to find picks. Particularly, you can actually pick Ming quite easily with the fact you have a Trundle, right? Because you can shred the resistances. So they're kind of in that element where you're 5,000 gold behind, you have to start thinking, what can we do? Because it is a pretty rough position to be in. You have to find numbers advantages. You can't just go for flat 5v5. And RNG, they're just going to continue with their neutral objectives. Second Herald is up and available. They're going to move their resources over, right? They have TP on bin to join. JDG won't contest. And then after that, they can just swing down towards the dragon and look to secure. What I think could be an idea for JDG is if you set up some vision early on the dragon, you can look for a pick around it. They try and find Ming, but they won't. But yeah, I feel like if they head down towards Dragon and get some wards down, that's when you can fish for a pick, because bear in mind, Dragon's in 15, RNG are probably going to rush down towards it.
Yeah, they can even drop Herald mid if they feel like they need the pressure there as well. So all the cards in RNG's hands. But again, we've been in this situation before. It does feel a little different, though, because this is RNG looking far more confident, far more composed in how they're executing their draft. 3-0-4 on way in the Volibear. We didn't have that in game 1 or 2. 3-1-5 for Xiaohu as well. He's finally becoming the big carry and just facilitating the rest of his side lanes. That is what we expect from RNG. And for JDG, you need a moment of magic. You need someone. Kanavi, 369. Hell, you've seen it from Yagao and Hope as well. We need someone to step up and be counted. Otherwise, they may end up losing this in a reverse sweep.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking rough, and now Mystic has to flash your ways in a bit of a rough position. The problem is, again, you know, my thought process, if you get to Dragon area quickly, set up some vision, look for a pick, but even if they go for that, it's not guaranteed to work because Xiaohu has his ultimate, right? And that can mitigate the pressure. So I think you're kind of waiting for RNG to make a mistake or find those opportunities, those windows. You might be in with a decent shout to try and, if Xiaohu overextends, he might be a good target, but he does have a stopwatch to buy time. It just feels very rough for JDG. Fortunately, you know, obviously Baron's not on the cards at the moment. Dragon's in 4 minutes. You have a bit of time just to farm up and try and get some items. Something we talked about a lot when we've seen this combo of the Jayce and the Xayah is the 2-item spikes. Ryze as well, very strong there. The Eclipse and the Manamune for Hope isn't too far away. We do see the Eclipse just picked up for 369. It's going to be a bit longer for his Manamune, his tears not being close to spiked. But that is a good opportunity for them. And if you can keep RNG at bay and land the poke onto critical members, that is really where you can sort of find an advantage in the mid-game that I think is pretty important for them.
Oh, Ming will miss the solar flare there, but no real objective to be taken on either side of the map, so no harm, no foul. You're not really losing any opportunity cost.
And I love, so what I often see teams do, which is a really powerful tool, is in the moment like this is like a point where there's no objectives really on the map, right? You can definitely find opportunities if you use your sideways, but you can even see 369's freezing. That's how like low pressure is in the moment. So you see moments like Ming going for the ultimate, right? He's probably not going to kill Hope's Xayah with summoners, but if you burn like a flash, that means that means they're not going to be up and available for the next objectives, and your ult is going to be back up pretty soon. So I love when they fish for those opportunities. They are going to look for that Herald mid. I don't think it's quite low enough just to die off the back of the charge, but it will get chunked out pretty heavily. Yeah,
it will bring it down to about a quarter of a third of its HP. You see the rest of JDG now here, all 5 members of JDG here, while Bin is off on the side lane just farming up. It is still a 5,000 gold lead. JDG recognized that, but similar to game 1, they were very smart in where they knew their strengths was. They knew where they could go for fights and when they couldn't. The big thing here, though, for RNG is they have an awful lot more tools at their disposal.
Yeah, I think the problem is game 1 and 2, what we saw JDG do a great job of was they had side lane pressure, and they would lean that into mid lane to find a play.
Well, we're going to see both ultimates used by the supports to get a TP coming off the backside. It's going to be 369 coming in here as Ming goes golden to try and keep himself alive in stasis. Now, here comes the Irelia. There's one kill going off. You trade support for support, and the Vanguard's edge is going to be used. There's going to be nice setters being drawn back as Wayne now has to jump out with his ultimate. This is going back in JDG's favor, and we talked about this. We talked about how they're able to make this one work. RNG running to the 5 wins as they try and make sure they can keep themselves alive. They trade 2 for 1 down. RNG, you need to be making sure you win those.
Yeah, that was just kind of unnecessary. You know, I talked a bit about those fights, trying to ban summoners. They do at least get some of those, right? Flash down for Yagao and Kanavi, but they banned plenty of their own, so not really any advantage, too much gained. And RNG just overstep. You're so deep in the enemy jungle. You saw Bin this angle Bin came from, if you actually look, so he went through the tower, a very precarious position, and the problem is, especially against like a Trundle Xayah, in these chokes, it's so hard to go deeper, and then when you're going out, there's only one way. I mean, look, Bin is literally coming from behind the tower here on the flank, and sure, he gets a kill, but then there's only one way to exit. You're dealing with the feathers. It makes things so difficult.
Yeah, and we talked about how powerful the Xayah pick has been all series. When you're in those chokes, those narrow moments, which become even more narrow with the Mountain Soul Rift, this is where the Xayah can flourish. This is where the Xayah can do so much, and now we come back into live, and we're starting to see 1 minute till Dragon. RNG need to reset the map.
Yeah, and they need to control the area. I still think they're going to be pretty favored going into this one. Again, the Dragon, like the river around it, a lot more open, a lot easier for RNG to fight in. Oh, but looking for
Cleanse burned.
That's big.
Yeah, it's very big.
They're not up for, I mean, I will say the Leona ult might just not be up for the spawn of Dragon, but you take that, right? You've been Cleanse and Flash from Hope. And nothing else was traded for other than the Leona ultimate, so perfect for
Predator
RNG.
cooldown, which will be back in 30
seconds.
seconds.
This sucks to say, because if RNG get Mountain Soul, it's really difficult. This might actually be a situation where you opt not to fight this from JDG. It could be precarious, but we'll see. Obviously, they delivered okay in the last fight. We do have Manamune about to be fully stacked for Hope. He's literally, I think, one more ability hit, and he will have that available. So that's a spike for him, but 369 is still a while away from his.
Absolutely, and I think the big problem is, though, is that, yes, you will get that spike for the Xayah, but you don't have Flash and Cleanse, as we just talked about. You only have your ultimate to keep yourself safe. You got good peeling tools with the Alistar and, of course, the Jayce, but there's only so much they can do. Now, next 5v5 comes in. Dragon has been started. This is RNG going to try and put themselves onto Mountain Soul Point. There's a big flank coming in from Bin as he tries to get himself behind the backside. If he can get a Vanguard's Edge onto multiple members, it could be huge. The poke is being mitigated as they get the Moonlight Vigil coming in. Kanavi going to try and steal this one straight away. They're a bit separated here on the side of RNG. It will be secured, and now Kanavi's left up a creek without a paddle, and now with the Solar Flare coming down, they will catch out Bin and trade it back, but there's only so much you can do. Xayah will fall, and they're trying to turn this one all the way back in their favor. RNG with a triple kill for Gala, end up getting the Dragon, and they can turn for the Baron as well.
Head straight over to it, right? 369 missing, the only ones alive. Sure, 369 can poke a bit, but you have a Aphelios with Bloodthirster. You're not really too worried. They crushed the fight, and that's my question. I said maybe JDG just give this one up, but they felt pressured. Mountain Soul for RNG would be huge, so they commit to the fight, and they're just not able to find, despite, you know, they have a good turn onto Bin, and it didn't look like Bin did much. He doesn't need to. They focus so many resources onto dealing with his Irelia. It just means Gala can walk up and dispatch everyone.
Absolutely clinical there from RNG to get the Dragon in the 50-50. Kanavi's then separated, and now they get the Baron. They're going to be able to put that. You're talking about a Baron buff with an Irelia and a Galio. You have so much 1-3-1 pressure now.
Oh, 100%. It's painful. It's really painful. I mean, the replay, so it is a bit sporadic, right? A lot of damage gets focused into the pit. Initially, you see Ming get chunked out quite heavily, and we see the commit for the Dragon. At the end of the day, Wei secures it, which is massive, but even if he didn't, it's not that big of a deal. Because, you know, JDG pumps some damage there, and then they see Bing come in. And everyone kind of beelines over, like, we need to deal with this Irelia. Ult from the Xayah, Missing's heading over to deal with it, and then the cleanup is there. Gala, untouched at this point, just able to move forward. And Wei and Xiaohu still healthy, and they can just keep cycling their CC chain and allowing their AD carry to flourish. And now, as you said, Baron in pocket. They're playing through mid and bot. Yes, we see Yagao on the top lane. They don't care.
My God.
Yeah, they are forcing forwards. They are sacrificing top lane just to get things done with this Baron. And think about it, right? We actually see 369 in the jungle. He can't answer Bin right now.
No, he can't. He can't go near him. That's a Gore Drinker, Blade of the Ruined King. Yes, you get a tower on the top side, but now Xiaohu with the Predator trying to see if he can keep his solo laner alive. This is just such good pressure right now.
Yeah, they have to move Kanavi down to answer bot lane. The cannon minion's still hammering it, but that means mid lane is now vulnerable. Cleanse just
he's dead!
He's gone!
He's gone! He was left alone for half a second, and he got caught out by the side of RNG. They still have Baron for a minute 30. This honestly could be so much loss.
Yeah, I feel like at this point, JDG, just sack mid. You're not going to be able to defend it. Go and try and help with bot, but even then, bot lane tier 2 is gone.
They can end the game here. If they get the wave from bot side, they can 100% end this game. Look at this. They're going to go for the mid lane inhibitor. They're going to rotate down. Yes, you're getting a top lane tier 2, but who cares? You're losing everything here, JDG. RNG are just smacking them down, and we're going to see a fight coming in. This could be the final moment for JDG if they're not able to win it. Double tower turned off as Trundle will fall. The Jayce is next, and everything's falling apart. A second reverse sweep is looking likely. The Nexus turret's the only thing between RNG and a 3-2 scoreline. They are going to do it, for theirs is the power, and this is their kingdom. RNG RNG, the Spring Emperors, yet to be defied.
And Hope is still alive, but Hope is gone for JDG. They get crushed in that game. Both teams came in, the two high-powered junglers, the Lee Sin and the Viego taken away, and we said this is an equal playing field, and RNG delivered, right? They had the comp they wanted, they had the Galio, Xiaohu doing what he does, the glue that keeps the comp together, and he's been hit or miss throughout the season. This series, game 3, 4, 5 on
He did it to
point.
end. He did it to end.
Absolutely, right? You in a little bit to bring it back, and literally them doing a top esports, getting the reverse sweep, and this is critical because now they have that second life still.
Yep.
And JDG will go to face V5. I know V5 obviously lost against top esports, but it was a close series, and I would not enjoy being sent up against them given their regular season. So RNG still very much keeping their hopes alive, not only to defend their spring title, which they had obviously last time around, but also they want to return to MSI and defend their MSI title as well. Huge performance coming out there.
What an absolute banger series, and the adaptations we saw, the mini metas that we always love to talk about, and for RNG, this is why this team is so scary. This is why we love talking about them in such a smart sense, because they made the adaptations. They went crazy, balls to the wall in their first draft and said, 3 mids banned. Okay, 2 mids banned. All right, no mids banned. We'll go with something else completely different, because they knew, they recognized that wasn't where the priority was. It was in the jungle. It was in getting those early skirmishes, and honestly, just making sure Wei had an impact, because in the games 3, 4, 5, Wei had constant impact in those games, and you know who didn't? Kanavi.
And I think what's fantastic is that I came in the series thinking this is actually a good matchup for JDG, right?
Yeah,
I thought stylistically this is a good matchup because consistently RNG been leaving Bin to dry. Bin's had some mistakes in the laning phase where he's been punished. Kanavi's very proactive when Wei is a little bit more tame. And we also see a focus around top lane to get 369 ahead. Game 5 was RNG like, we are going to be super proactive. We're going to lean towards top and give Bin resources. As much as they still gave it to Gala as well, they allowed Bin to flourish in the matchup. And all the sort of weaknesses, I was like, these are vulnerabilities for RNG. Over the course of the series, they adapted to answer. So fantastic play coming out for them, and we've gotten our money's worth today and yesterday.
Woo! It's good to be
series.
It's good to be a fan of LPL. That's all I'm saying.
No 3-0s over here.
No 3-0s here. Only 5-game bangers all day, every day.
It's scripted already, by the way. We've got locked in.
Well, look, so's the
rest
LEC. They know that. Everyone knows that. Everyone knows this whole thing is scripted.
G2 just came back and won shit.
Lower bracket run? Get out of here. Like, 12-0, not likely. Not really going to happen. But again, massive, massive win for RNG. We call them the Emperors of Spring. We know that these guys can just do it every single spring. It doesn't matter. The meta, the changes, the players, they just work in spring season, and I don't know why.
Which is it's kind of a weird one as well, because I felt like my view coming in the split off RNG was, they had such a solved playstyle with Cryin, where he plays the roamers, plays towards top. Kind of what we saw this game, right? This felt very reminiscent of what they used to do with Cryin on the roster. But I felt like it was a net positive, like a lot of people felt. Bin in the top lane and Xiaohu mid felt like an overall upgrade, but it might take time to work it out. And, there have been some misses. Even in the series, there were some misses. But this game was kind of them showing they still know how to play for the top laner. Actually, Bin doing the most damage, but the pressure was there. The goal difference is ridiculous. And you actually look, you compare this on the other series. This was a very, other games of the series. This was a very fast game. This was a low damage game. Like, the AD carries the most with only 12,000. This was RNG controlled. And one of the big things we've seen that they've been so good at is once they get a lead, they are very consistently